is nice, isn't it? I mean, it's...
Good evening and welcome to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen Workshop. It's July 29th, 2021. It is 6:30 p.m. Call this meeting to order. We have a quorum. The prayer next Thursday night will be by Alderman Waldron. The Pledge of Allegiance by Sheriff Mike Fitzhugh. You should all have a copy of the minutes from the July 6, 2021 public hearing and regular meeting in your packets. We'll have some presentations, certificate of appreciations, outstanding performance award. We're first going to move on to the ones here for the workshop. We're going to start off with Chief Beasley and the fire department pinning ceremony.
We have several badges to be pinned on. We got a couple occasions. We have a new hire, or new employee, Patrick. First person to be pinned tonight will be Patrick Bradford, and his mother will be doing the honors. Patrick comes to us second week. He's in the second week, so he's doing a really good job. We're really excited to have him, and extremely proud of him. She promised that she would not draw more than an ounce of blood.
Good job, sir.
We also have engineer Nick Davis. Now, Nick was promoted last year. Come on up. He was promoted last spring. Is that right? November. So because of COVID, we weren't having meetings at the time. And we have failed to make that official for him now. We gave him his badge back then, but we wanted an opportunity for his family to present that to him. So congratulations to engineer Nick Davis. That didn't work out. Yeah, we didn't want to fail for the opportunity for the family to have part of this. When we did that in November, it was just me and him standing in a hallway with a mask on. Really wasn't a real pretty picture. It may have been a better picture of me, but we also have a newly promoted engineer, David McAllister. Your wife? Would you like to? Have you practiced this?
Right now?
Yeah. And then we have our last one, Lieutenant Patrick Hood. And I believe this will be his father. He's a second-generation firefighter. This is a true honor. Sir?
Yes, sir.
It's a true honor. If I could get everybody to come up, it was just promoted. We're going to swear in Patrick as a firefighter, if you would. But I'm also going to ask that these newly promoted individuals recommit their firefighter oath so they can commit what they've done years ago, but they have a new title. They have a new job and a whole lot of new responsibility. Lieutenant Hood's responsible for a group of firefighters every single day, and want him to acknowledge that. And our two drivers, I mean, they have your lives at risk every day when they're driving down the road, as well as the people in that fire truck. It's a great responsibility. So if y'all would, raise your right hand. Repeat after me. Say your name when I say I. Okay. I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute my duties as a firefighter to the city of Laverne, state of Tennessee, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the laws of the United States and the state and the charter. Let's just leave it at that. Constitution, the laws, United States of this state. That's a mouthful. I'm sorry, gentlemen. There we go. Protect and defend the Constitution. And the laws of the United States. And of this state. And the charter and ordinances. Of this city. So help me God. I apologize for messing that up for y'all. Congratulations.
Now, if I could have our new police chief come up. Chief, would you like your family here with you? Sure. So, family can come on up. Okay, we're going to go through the oath of honor, and then your wife can pin that lovely badge on you. So if you would raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Burrell Calvin Davis II,
Calvin Davis II,
of my own free will and accord,
do
hereby and hereon sincerely promise
sincerely promise
and solemnly swear that on my honor I will never betray my badge or profession,
I will never betray my badge or the profession,
my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
my integrity, my character, or the public trust.
I will always have the courage
I will always have the courage
to hold myself and others
to hold myself and others
accountable for our actions.
accountable for our actions.
I will always uphold the constitutions
I will always uphold the Constitution
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the state of Tennessee
the state of Tennessee
and the charter and ordinances
and the charter and ordinances
of the city of Laverne.
of the city of Laverne.
I will faithfully discharge the duties
I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the Chief of Police of Laverne Police Department
of the Chief of Police of the Laverne Police Department
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability.
so help me God,
So help me God,
and keep me steadfast
and keep me steadfast
in due performance of the same.
in due performance of the same.
Congratulations, sir. It's okay to draw blood.
I'm sure we got at least one EMT in here somewhere, though.
Ladies and gentlemen, our police chief.
You want to do it later? Okay.
So next Thursday night, we will have the departmental reports, and then we'll move on to old business. Second reading ordinance 2021-15, an ordinance to amend the City of Laverne zoning ordinance by changing the official zoning map for tax map 14, parcel 24, consisting of approximately 10 acres, located at 147 Jones Mill Road, from an R1 low-density residential zoning district to a R2 medium-density residential zoning district. This received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission on May 25th, 2021. Does anyone have any questions on this? Seeing none. Moving on to second reading ordinance 2021-16, an ordinance to amend Title 8, Chapter 1, Section 8-111 of the Vergne Municipal Code regarding location restrictions for packaged liquor stores. Again, this is second reading. Does anyone have any questions?
I just, from where those other liquor stores are going on Old Nashville, is it gonna be, if someone puts one in there on Old Nashville Highway, it's gotta be a mile from City Slickers?
The distance requirements, yes, are still the same. This doesn't change that. This is just adding Old Nashville and Industrial to the list of roads that that liquor package stores are allowed on. Any other questions? Moving on to second reading ordinance 2021-17, an ordinance to amend Title 18, Chapter 4, Section 18-401 of the Vergne Municipal Code regarding sewer usage charges for the Blair Road Sewer Basin. Does anyone have any questions? Second reading ordinance 2021-18, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 general fund budget. Again, this is second reading. Does anyone have any questions? Moving on to number 8, second reading ordinance 2021-19, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 State Street Aid Fund budget. Does anyone have any questions? Moving on to number 9, second reading ordinance 2021-20, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 Senior Citizens Fund budget. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, second reading ordinance 2021-21, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 Stormwater Fund budget. Again, this is second reading. Does anyone have any questions? Second reading ordinance 2021-22, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2020-2021 fire impact fee fund budget. Sorry, had a moment to get that out. Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, moving on to the consent agenda. First, we have approve city bids and purchases. The first one that we have is the bid for the asphalt paving and materials. I don't see Felicia here. Garland, do you want to speak to that at all?
On Monday morning at 10:30. I think there was 4 that showed up. We had 2 that was real close, which would have been Rogers Group and Hawkins Paving, and sitting with Kyle and all. It was pretty close. We want to go with Hawkins because of the fact they don't do any interstate highways or state roads. Because Rogers, they were coming in for a day or 2, then they'd have to pull off for a night job. Like I say, there was a little bit of difference. I want to say it was like $21,000 over 3 years for the contract.
Mm-hmm.
But Hawkins was a little higher, but we decided to go with them. I think Rogers has been here maybe 5 or 6 years.
And they're not going to work on multiple roads all at the same time, are they?
No, he said when they come in, they will, whatever I've got for them, they'll get it done before they leave. And they have, I think, a couple of asphalt plants. One up off the 231, and he's got one in Cannon County, I think.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions?
Interesting to see that the 3 bids were very, very close.
Yeah, they were.
Very close.
They were, I think Hawkins was like 2 out of the 3. They were lower on 2 things and maybe higher on one. But I think it'll all work out.
We used them before.
I know their work. They've done a lot of work here in Laverne. I know about 6 years ago, we upgraded up to the 6-inch water line I think it was like 26, 27 roads that they paved part of. But they've done, you know, some on private jobs.
Okay. Any other questions?
Just excited to get some paving done.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to number 2, this is the state contract purchase. This is radios for our patrol vehicles. This is for 10 Motorola APX 6500 radios. It's the installation, the antennas, all the programming. It's going to cost $58,797.83. And this was authorized in the 2021-22 budget. Does anyone have any questions?
Are these radios, they gonna be good for a long time? I know it's hard to protect the future, but as far as,
Generally speaking, from my knowledge, they last the lifetime of the vehicle. So 100, up to 120, 130,000 generally is our cycle till we start having major issues with them. But we also have that maintenance agreement where they'll come in and fix and program and do whatever else we need to do with them.
good.
Any other questions? Moving on to B, approve renewal of maintenance agreement with Motorola Solutions for city radio equipment. This is our normal contract with them. The cost is $45,850. This is for all of the City of Laverne's radios, and this renewal, it covers 77 mobile and 128 portable radios and 9 control stations. Does anyone have any questions? Moving on to C, approved contract with Lamar Companies for billboard advertising for the Old Timers Festival. This is just like it sounds. It's a contract, it's for $1,080. It's to do advertising on the billboard located on Murfreesboro Road, right across the street from the library. Does anyone have any questions?
I know it's a dumb question, but I just can't remember from year to year. We put that up there every year.
We put it up there last year.
Yeah.
I don't know if we did it years before that, but it worked out very well last year.
Yeah.
Any other questions? D, approve agreement for engineering services with CTI Engineers Incorporated for professional services in connection for the planned Waldron Road Sewer Assessment Zone.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board. We have for your consideration an agreement for professional services for the sewer associated with the Waldron Road Sewer Assessment Zone. It includes the interceptor sewers, the sewage pump station, force main, low-pressure sewer manifold to serve Walnut Ridge. And as normal, our fees are lump sum for design, bidding, and construction phase, and then cost plus for surveys, permits, easements, developer coordination, and assessment zone recommendations. I'll be happy to answer any questions you all have about the agreement.
Does anyone have any questions?
Question for Mr. Cope. Have you reviewed this, Evan, or not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it's
That's
good.
good.
If I may, we've done a number of agreements with the city of Laverne, and several years back, Evan and I worked out the parts that Evan wants left out.
Good to hear. Thank
He's
you.
been really good about not putting it back in there.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, can you touch on, because I know I've had residents reach out to me in the past from Walnut Ridge. Can you talk to me just a little bit about that, what your thoughts are there?
Yes, sir, I'll be happy to. What we have discussed is extending the interceptor sewer far enough up to Blair Road to be able to accept waste from Walnut Ridge. Walnut Ridge will have to be low-pressure sewer, and so what we've also discussed is installing about 7,000 feet of low-pressure sewer manifold on the 2 streets that run through Walnut Ridge. Those will then be there and available whenever pressure sewers are connected to it by individual residences.
Okay, okay. I know that that's something they've been asking about, so thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. And then E, approve agreement for a trackless train for the Old Timers Festival. David, do you want to come up here and talk to us about this? I know we discussed it quite a bit last month, about a trackless train system.
Mayor Board, thank you. I think we're still in the same spot basically we were last month. We were supposed to hear back from them today. We have not heard from them. I guess if we don't hear from them by early next week, this will probably come off. It's at their insurance company right now to see if they'll approve it.
Now, is this the same one we discussed?
This is a different company.
Is this a different one?
Yes, sir. So if this one doesn't go through, we've got one more we know that we can reach out to. We were trying to hammer things out with these before we reached out to another one.
So Bruce, my question would be, can we get this pulled out of the consent agenda since there is some hesitancy with it? And just put this as a new agenda item, and that way if they do not respond in a timely fashion, then we can go from there.
We could do that. Dave and I had also talked about the possibility of, if we don't have an answer from them by like Tuesday or Wednesday next week, we could just take it off the agenda entirely and bring it back at the September meeting, because we do have one more meeting prior to Old Timers Festival. But yes, for tonight's purposes, yes, we'll take it off of the consent agenda, move it down under new business, because we don't have anything final. And so if we do get something back from them, it will be under new business for next week.
Wonderful.
Just
Thank you.
out of curiosity, is it the same kind of issues, Evan, that,
And I promise I'm not trying to throw a wet blanket on trackless trains. It's just, they just sent another agreement that was chock full of stuff that's bad for us and good for them, so.
good luck, Dave?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to new business, Resolution 2021-20, a resolution of the City of Laverne Board of Mayor and Aldermen to declare property owned by the city to be surplus to the city needs and directing disposal of the same. This is one item. This is, or actually, let me take that back. This is three items. This is the log cabin, and then this is the two chairs from the lobby that Bruce absolutely loves. I will lay odds he will probably be bidding on these. But it would be for those items to go on Gov Deals and go from there. And if they do not sell, of course, then the city will be able to dispose of them. Is there any questions?
I have no words.
So, Bruce, we hope you win your bids there.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to discussion, Fergus Road traffic issues. Mr. Adam Leach, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board. I do have prepared for you a kind of a quick and dirty engineering review. Everybody should have it there at their podium, desk, whatever you want to call it. We've had several discussions about Fergus Road, and I've had, of course, residents that contacted me about it throughout the years. Just to kind of give you, in your document there, it gives you a real brief overview. Once again, I kind of threw this thing together over a period of about a day or two, so that's kind of where we're at on that. But basically, Fergus Road is a collector roadway. Your traffic runs probably somewhere between 3,000 to 6,000 cars a day. Speed is posted at about 30 miles an hour. Pavement width is usually about 22 feet. You do have shoulder on some of it. You have curb on some of it. Some of it is on rural drainage. There's two maps in the back indicating where that split occurs. The biggest concerns, of course, that I've heard have been traffic and or cars leaving the roadway, especially near the curve coming towards Sand Hill. The curve has a radius, it's roughly 232 feet with a 24.5 degree of curvature, which is not excellent for a collector roadway, and our current city design standard for 35 mile per hour design requires about a 375 foot radius to maintain 35 mile an hour or super elevation, either or. The 225 foot curve radius meets our requirements for a local roadway. Basically, when Fergus was built, it was a county road. It was taken over by the city. How it looks compared to what we would put in a new subdivision is significantly different. All that said, Lane width is required to be 12 feet with 4-foot shoulders on new collector roads. It wouldn't technically meet lane width for a local road, given our current standards. There's also some concern at various intersections, including Sand Hill and Fergus Road, those being sight distance and traffic concerns, mostly due to some new development going on out there. And the roadway, the Hollandale and Sand Hill intersections are located within 280 feet of each other. That is the bare minimum required by our standards for intersection spacing, center line to center line. And there's also been some concern about the intersection of Jones Mill and Fergus Road regarding the site distance and future capacity, given some potential new development going out there via residential. I've also summarized the accidents that I could find from 2018 to 2021, which could be attributed to roadway geometry, specifically distracted driving, which does not necessarily have anything to do with the roadway geometry. However, when you lack shoulders and you wander off the roadway, it is very hard to overcome not basically just driving directly into the ditch, which is what happens on Fergus Road, especially near the curves. There have been 6 property damage total. Most of those were attributed to speeding, according to police reports entered into Titans. Titans is the state database DPS uses to basically track all of these crashes. There have been 4 minor injuries and 3 serious injuries in total in the 3-year span. So that's kind of what we have currently. The real question is, and will always be the real question, is what do we do next, I think, and which is why I was asked to have this discussion, I believe. So we can do a few things. Your first one is you say, okay, let's look at speeding. So the traditional ways of handling speeding are we can lower the speed limit, because parts of the roadway are probably only good for 25 miles an hour given our current design standard, especially through the curve there. If we lower the speed limit, then you're looking at basically going to enhanced enforcement, because telling people to drive slower does not necessarily make them drive slower, by and large. Some people do, some people don't, and it might help. Your next option is structural methodology. So you can add what's called chicanes, whereas we take a straight road, make it a little curvier, a little harder to see around. People tend to slow down to do that. The downside is that you can do those poorly and spend a lot of money, and I would reference a project done by Spring Hill that was in the papers for about 6 months, where they spent a few $1 million trying to slow a road down and everybody's just going the same speed. We do have some intersections where we could introduce some novel methods like mini roundabouts, which are relatively cost effective and do cause people to drive slower. Heritage Circle East would be kind of a good place to consider something like that, but we would have to acquire right of way. We do only have 50 feet of right of way on the entire length of this roadway. Therefore, any right of way we require is going to come directly out of people's yards. People do not tend to enjoy that. I just give that as a brief warning. Those are kind of the top of the list. If we're looking for basically speed enhancements, i.e. controlling speed. We could also look at some permanent radar signs. I've had relatively good luck with those in other locations. Specifically, when I was in Texas, we installed those and they helped control on traffic and also gave the police a pretty decent report on when speeding was occurring. And then, following that, we can start looking at safety enhancements, primarily the curvature of the curve. I could say that better. But enhancing the roadway geometry at the curve could enhance some of the safety and prevent basically cars from leaving the roadway, which is one of the things that everyone's generally concerned about, because nobody likes to wake up to a stranger in their yard, especially in their vehicle. That said, basically roadway realignments, that type of thing, are relatively expensive. Will take a little bit of time to get surveyed, all that fun stuff, but you guys have dealt with me for a few years, so that's just part and parcel of what my department does. So we could obviously get a proposal together from a consulting engineer, get it surveyed, lay out a new alignment, let the roadway realign it, all that
fun stuff that we just do on a daily basis. Some other things we might want to look at just as future concerns, of course, would be basically taking that Hollandale Road, tying it in at Sand Hill, making that a four-way, and either considering signalizing if it meets warrants or potentially some other novel method of intersection. But that would remove the sight distance problems that you would have there, since you wouldn't have one intersection basically looking at another. As far as Jones Mill goes, it technically meets the requirements for a local roadway where you're traveling 25 miles per hour. For a 35 mile per hour roadway, it does not meet those requirements, which is basically a 400-foot sight distance triangle from looking each direction. So we could look at enhancing, some of those sight distances. So there's basically a lot of options out there for how we could, enhance the roadway. Some of them are relatively low cost. The radar signs, I want to say, are probably about $4,000 to $5,000 a piece. Some of them are going to be significantly more expensive. So essentially, if we widen everything and put shoulders on it in the parts that don't have shoulders, we're probably looking in the $300,000-ish range. If we decide to enhance a whole roadway, sidewalks, all the fun stuff, realignment, you're probably going to be pretty safely in the $1 to $1.5 million range. Each of the intersections somewhere around 150 to 300,000, depending on what improvements would be considered necessary and unnecessary. But since this is such a high level review, it's hard for me to pin down exactly what numbers you would like to see, so that's the point of discussion. That's really all I've got as far as this roadway, and I'm happy to entertain any questions the board may have.
Anybody have any questions right off the bat?
One of my concerns is going to be is that there are some additional homes planned further off Morningside coming down the pike. Some other rezonings going on down Jones Mill Road. So myself, I'd like to see a permanent fix done for the roads to make it where it needs to be. That takes money, but I prefer to do a permanent job rather than just a temporary job.
Seems like we've got two problems here. The first one is safety, obviously. And the second one is convenience or inconvenience, because trying to get out of Jones's Mill. I sent emails, and I know nobody wants to talk about it, but I did do some research on these speed bumps, and I took it by Chief Beasley's office, and he made a good point. He said, well, Steve, I don't see a problem because we have to slow down for that curve anyway. The only problem being the shoulder's not wide enough. So I spoke with the mayor and I also of Smyrna, and also spoke with the department head of, let me clarify that.
This is news to me, so.
And the department head of Public Works. Those speed bumps are approximately $3,400 each. Takes about 2 hours to put them down. They're rubber. They said some of the biggest complaints that they had was people had to slow down. And believe it or not, that kind of caught me off surprise. I thought, imagine that, a speed bump that you got to slow down for. But on the right side going towards Lake Forest, the people that own all that property there on the right, I don't know if it's possible that we can do something and cut that out of there so you got sight distance. But there again, you've got safety, and then you've got inconvenience, because with the building that's going to happen out on Jones Mill Road, that's going to be a nightmare getting out of there, because you got George Thomas over there kind of offset that you got to deal with. Even though there's not a lot comes out of there, those people have to look at Fergus. They have to look at Jones Mill. They try to, it's a courtesy system, or who can get out of there the fastest. I don't know that there's a definitive answer. I do know that those, and I'm not going against what you said, but you did use the terminology as much as you could find out about these numbers here between 2018 and 2021. And I'm sure you did a fine job, Adam. I personally, myself, don't think they're right. I think it's higher than that. And also, it says that there's a 25-mile-per-hour caution at the curve. It's a 20-mile-an-hour curve. That's what that is. This is a thorn in everybody's side that lives out there. And I don't know the best answer. I don't know the best bang for the buck. I mean, I certainly hate for the city to spend $1.5 million. So I don't know who makes any kind of major decisions on that, but.
That's us.
No, I'm talking about who would make the decision as far as the best one to go, because I think I don't know if there's the best decision.
I personally don't feel like there's just one blanket solution. I think there's a combination. Kyle, were you able to reach out to that property owner who owns the property between, what is it? It's Hollandale and Jones Mill.
Not yet.
Okay, that would be something because, as Adam mentioned, getting that realigned where Hollandale and Sand Hill are a four-way stop, that would be one part of this solution. I do think, and this probably isn't popular with some of the people out there, but George Thomas to close that off to Fergus and have everyone either through Heritage Valley or through, what is that? Gene and Mercury.
Gene and Mercury.
So that you don't have two three-way stops right there on top of each other. But then also looking at the area, Fergus between both of the Heritage Valley circles. That, I think, would probably be a good area for some speed bumps. But I think the curve and the way that these roads all dump into Fergus, we have to look at as well. I think it's there's not just one solution. This is multiple solutions.
Does that, since they started building those homes over there behind Dollar General on Sand Hill, does George Thomas, does it connect to that road that comes out on Sand Hill now? Does it do that, Garland?
It will. The second subdivision going down from Dollar General, the first one being Sand Hill Village, the second one being Minerva Village. Minerva Village will tie in to Minerva Drive, which is on the back side of that.
So that's a realistic point by doing that.
Right. It's not popular. People are going to have to drive a little bit further to go around. But if we're looking at safety, then I think having two three-way stops stacked on top of each other, and realistically, within a mile, you have four stacked on top of each other, just is not the best solution. And I know we can't go back and, I mean, if we could go back 20, 30, 40 years and draw the city how we wanted it, I'm sure it wouldn't look how it looks today. But we can't do that. We have to take what we have in front of us and try to make it work best for all of our citizens, our employees, and for the future. So, thoughts from anybody else?
You know, it's funny that Sand Hill is 10 times crookeder and narrower, but nothing, as far as I know, nothing ever seems to happen out there. But we can't make it on Fergus. Doesn't make.
Alderman Coates?
Just maybe give Adam some more time for some other ideas, to come up with some other suggestions of what we can do if we do start, perhaps, taking persons some a house or some other issues there on that junction at Jones Mill. I think if you put a better junction there at Jones Mill, it would relieve some of the issue as far as people speeding coming down from Sandhill down to the Jones Mill Road area. I just think there's other options, and doesn't mind sitting with Adam and having some ideas and kicking it around and come back with some other suggestions.
Okay.
So you asked earlier, Mr. Mayor, if there was any discussion about this. Can I go back to that now? Because I wanted to wait until we discussed that before I spoke my piece about that, about this rezoning.
Okay, well, at this point, we're on to as far as just the road improvements.
Okay.
So that's why I asked for the discussion.
Well, I know, but I didn't want to discuss it until we talked about this, so it's all good.
Alderwoman Honeycutt, did you have something?
I agree with Alderman Coates giving Adam a little more time. You know, maybe Adam, come up with your top 3 solutions, and I mean, you're the brains of this operation when it comes to what would work better.
Occasionally.
So, Alderman Coates, can you set up a meeting with Adam so that y'all can sit down and have some discussions? Kyle, can you reach out to that property owner? I believe Felicia's got his contact. She knows him, and see if there can be anything there which would help, if there's, any willingness there. And then the two of y'all can come up with some things and present it back to this board.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is that fair? Okay. With that, we're going to move on to Mayor and Alderman comments. Alderwoman Honeycutt.
I just want to take the time to personally congratulate all the fire personnel that got promoted this evening, along with welcoming our new firefighter to the city. That's awesome. And congratulating Chief Davis. It's well deserved. And to remind everybody about National Night Out on Tuesday. It might be hot, but it'll be pretty fun. So looking forward to seeing everybody.
Thank you. Alderman Coates.
Follow up too with congratulations to the people that were pinned tonight and the chief, as well as National Night Out. The other thing I'd like to bring up, just so people that live in Lake Forest understand and get to know, is that if you frequent Stonesville Road in the next month, starting on August the 3rd, we are going to start performing some work down Stonesville Road, so there will be some congestion and some other issues going through there. Just to bear with us, but it is for the good of the city, and we're going to get the road completed with the water line as soon as we can, but let people know that there will be some issues with some with Stonesville Road and some roads being blocked off, but flow of traffic will continue, and the city will do its best to ensure that everyone gets to and from work and home safely.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor, no.
Stay cool. That's all I got, man.
Well, I want to, again, remind everyone on the board that our meeting next week is Thursday, not Tuesday. Tuesday is National Night Out. Please come out to Veterans Memorial Park. Let's see the police and the fire department throw down for some softball. And Chief, you're going to be throwing a few balls out there. You found your glove?
Only if needed.
But there should be lots of activities, lots of fun there. Do want to thank staff. I know we've worked diligently on on finding a police chief for this community. And so with our HR director, our city administrator, we went through the long process. It took us quite a while, but we wanted to find who is absolutely best for this community. And so I think that's what we did with Chief Davis. I also want to take a moment, and we usually don't bring him up a whole lot in the closing comments, but I want to congratulate Evan Cope. And he was back on for THEC chairman, so for another term, so congratulations there.
Thank you, Mayor.
Higher education for people who don't get the acronym, but he's been serving there for quite a while, so serving the public even still. So congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
With that, I will see you all Tuesday, and I call this meeting adjourned.
Thursday.